18 years old. The most valuable real estate in a human life, not because 18 is special, but because it sits at the beginning of the compounding window. Every hour invested here runs 12, 15, 20 years of return before 30 arrives. Every hour wasted here does not simply disappear. It removes a compounding year from the position you will occupy at 30. Not a bad year. A missing year. A year that cannot be retroactively inserted. A year the man at 30 will feel the absence of, and not always be able to name. You are not yet behind. That is the specific cruelty of being 18 and reading this. There is no behind yet. There is only the accumulating direction of daily choices, invisible in the moment, enormous across the decade. The man at 30 who looks back at his 18th year will either see the foundation his current position is built on, or the gap his current position is missing, which one he sees as being determined right now, today. In the choices made today that feel too small to matter and are not. Bruce Wayne began the work at a point when the work produced nothing visible. No result, no recognition, no confirmation that the years of preparation would produce anything at all. He built anyway, not because he could see the outcome, because he understood the arithmetic. The hours at 20 compound differently than the hours at 35. He chose to spend them on the compound side. What that choice produced across the years nobody saw is what this video is about. Here is the arithmetic. An hour wasted at 18 is not 1 hour lost. It is that hour, plus every return that hour would have produced across the following 12 years. A skill practiced for 12 years produces fundamentally different output than the same skill practiced for 6. Not twice as good, categorically different. The kind of output that 12 years of compounding produces cannot be replicated by working harder for 6. The additional 6 years of compounding are not available for purchase at any effort level. They are available only through time. And time at 18 is the only time that produces 12 years of return before 30 arrives. The man who builds a daily practice at 18 arrives at 30 with a compounded position. The man who begins the same practice at 24 arrives at 30 with a 6-year position. Same practice, same effort, different starting point. The gap between those two positions at 30 is not the missing 6 years of practice. It is the compounding those 6 years would have run on the previous 6. That gap is structural. It is permanent. It cannot be worked off. It can only be prevented from being created. Wayne understood this before he began. The years in the dark were not wasted waiting. They were the compounding window being used while it was available. Every young man has the same window. Most do not understand what closing it without using it actually costs. The cost is not felt at 18. It arrives, precise and unavoidable, at 30. The wasting does not feel like wasting. That is the entire problem. It feels like reasonable enjoyment of the years before responsibility arrives. It feels like normal behavior for someone your age. It feels like the things your peers are doing, which means it carries no social signal that anything is wrong. A Friday evening that produced nothing. A weekend that passed without building anything. A month where the one thing that needed to start kept being deferred to when conditions were better. The conditions were better. The conditions never become better. They become different. At 22, there are different reasons the start keeps being deferred. At 25, different ones, again. The reasons are always plausible. The arithmetic is unchanged. Each deferred year removes a year from the compounding window without announcing its cost at the moment it is spent. Stay with this. What I am about to name is the specific daily decision available to you right now, today, at whatever age you are reading this. That starts the compounding that the wasted hours were removing. It takes less than 5 minutes to make, and it changes everything downstream from this moment. Wayne did not begin his preparation when the conditions were right. The conditions were never right. His parents were dead. His grief was unresolved. His path was unclear. And the thing he was preparing for did not yet have a name. He began anyway, not with a plan, with a practice. One thing, done daily in the direction the man he needed to become would have been moving. The practice preceded the plan. The plan emerged from the practice. That sequence is available at any age. It is most valuable at 18, because 18 has the most compounding years ahead of it. But it is available right now, regardless of where the clock currently reads. The man who starts today, regardless of age, regardless of how many hours the wasting has already consumed, does not recover the wasted hours. That is not available. What is available is this. The compounding begins on the day it begins, and every day it runs produces a return that the day before it could not. The 10 years at 30 are not paid for by working harder. They are prevented from being owed by starting the compounding before they accumulate. A practice started at 18 and held daily reaches 30, with 12 years behind it. A practice started at 22 reaches 30 with 8. A practice started at 26 reaches 30 with 4. Each of those positions is categorically different. Each of them was determined by a decision made years earlier that felt, at the time, too small to matter. The decisions made today feel too small to matter. They are not. They are the decision about which of those positions you will occupy. The 12-year position, the 8-year position, the 4-year position, when 30 arrives and the compounding window of the early years has closed, and whatever was built during them is the foundation everything after is built on. Wayne's decades of preparation produced a man the city needed before it knew it needed him. Your daily practice, started today, produces a man your life needs before it makes the need urgent. The urgency will come. The question is whether the foundation was already built when it does. You came into this expecting to feel regret about the hours already wasted, to leave this video carrying the weight of everything the early years did not produce, the years of deferral, the months of reasonable enjoyment, the daily choices that felt too small and were not. The wasted hours are not recoverable. That is true, and it is also completely irrelevant to the decision available to you right now. The compounding that was removed by the wasted hours cannot be restored. The compounding that begins today can still run. Every year it runs from today produces a return that the year before it could not. The man who starts today does not catch the man who started at 18. The man who starts today does not catch the man who started at 18, but he becomes the man who started today, rather than the man who watched this video and waited for a better moment that did not arrive. Better is not available. Today is available. That is the only choice currently on the table.